The wine glass was still raised when my mother turned to me. "And thank you, Ren, for not crashing the car this month." Everyone laughed. My father, my cousins, my sister. Even my 5-year-old niece giggled. I sat there, frozen, fork halfway to my mouth. 2 days ago, I'd pitched to a major investor, stood in a boardroom and presented a product I'd built from nothing. They'd been impressed, actually impressed. That morning, I'd finalized a 6-figure licensing deal, signed the papers, felt the weight of success. But here at this table, I was still the punchline, the screw-up, the dumb one, the family disappointment who couldn't do anything right. I wasn't surprised anymore. I was done. My name is Ren Astor. For 28 years, my family decided I was the failure. They mocked my intelligence, dismissed my dreams, treated my existence like a comedy routine. They made jokes about my grades, about my career choices, about every single decision I made. And I let them, because somewhere deep down, I'd started to believe it too. But they forgot something crucial. I was never stupid, just underestimated. And the day I cashed a $47 million check, I didn't just prove them wrong. I rewrote everything. That dinner was supposed to be celebratory. My sister had just finished her master's degree, business administration from a prestigious university. My cousin had landed an internship at an investment bank. Everyone was very proud. My brother had bought his first apartment, downtown. Expensive, impressive. They went around the table toasting each achievement. Then it was my turn. My father raised his glass, smiled that condescending smile. "To Ren," he said, "who keeps trying." Everyone laughed again, like my life was a sitcom, like I was the comic relief character who never quite gets it together. "Bless her heart," my aunt added. "At least she's persistent." I smiled, nodded, took a sip of wine. But inside, something shifted, because they had no idea what was coming. No idea that in 3 weeks I'd be signing papers that would change everything. No idea that the dumb one they loved to mock was about to become the most successful person at this table. By far. I just smiled wider and let them enjoy their ignorance while it lasted. Because soon, very soon, they'd see exactly what I'd been building, and it would be too late to pretend they'd always believed in me. I left early that night, made an excuse about being tired. Nobody questioned it. They were too busy celebrating the real achievements. I drove home in silence. But I couldn't get the kitchen conversation out of my head. I'd gone to refill my water glass, overheard my aunt talking to my mother. "Maybe Ren's just not smart like the others," she'd whispered. I'd frozen in the doorway, waited for my mother to defend me, to say something, anything. Instead, she'd sighed. "She's sweet. Not every kid is built for greatness." Not built for greatness. Her own daughter. And she'd said it so casually, like it was just a fact, like I was a lost cause they'd all accepted. I'd left without getting the water. Grabbed my coat, walked out. Nobody noticed. That night, lying in my tiny apartment, I made a promise to myself. One day, they'd call me brilliant. Not as a joke. Not with that pitying tone. But because they'd have no choice. Because the evidence would be undeniable. And when that day came, I wouldn't need their validation anymore. But they'd give it anyway. Too late. What my family didn't know, what they'd never bothered to ask about, was what I actually did. They thought I dabbled in tech. Had some little side project, a hobby that would never amount to anything. The truth? I'd co-founded an educational software platform 18 months ago. My partner Felix and I had built a tool that helped students with learning disabilities access curriculum in new ways. We'd started small, beta testing with 50 students. Now we had 10,000 active users. Schools were reaching out. Teachers were recommending us. Students were sending testimonials. And 3 weeks ago, a major edtech company had approached us about acquisition. Felix had called me, voice shaking with excitement. They want to buy us out, the whole thing. For how much? $47 million. I'd sat down on my kitchen floor. Because that number changed everything. The founder I worked with, Felix, called me the mind behind the engine. Said I'd designed the core algorithm that made everything work. But at home, I was still cute but not career material. Still the one they didn't expect anything from. And I'd kept it that way on purpose. I tried to tell them once, 6 months ago, at Sunday dinner. I'd mentioned the platform, explained what we were building. My father had smiled indulgently. "That's nice, honey. You'll outgrow this phase soon." "It's not a phase. We have users. Real traction. My mother had patted my hand. Maybe you should take a course. Administrative work is stable, safe. I don't want to be an admin. Nothing wrong with it. Not everyone can be a CEO. My brother had laughed. Yeah, Ren? Maybe aim for something realistic. I'd stopped explaining after that. Let them believe whatever they wanted. Let them think I was wasting my time. Because soon, they'd be Googling my name, reading articles, seeing numbers, and they'd realize too late that they'd been mocking someone who'd lapped them all. I went back to work, focused on the acquisition, on due diligence and contract negotiations and making sure every detail was perfect. And I didn't say another word to my family about it. They didn't deserve to know. Not yet. Not until it was done. Not until the money was real and undeniable. Then they'd know, and I'd watch their faces, and it would be worth every dismissive comment, every condescending smile, every joke at my expense. The email came on a Wednesday, from my brother Callum, subject, family reunion planning. I almost deleted it, but something made me open it, and there it was. He'd accidentally CC'd me on a thread I wasn't supposed to see. The subject had been changed somewhere along the way. This was a continuation. My sister had written, "Should we even invite Ren? She's kind of the one we don't mention at reunions." My mother had replied, "Let's invite her. She'd be hurt otherwise." Callum had responded, "Poor Ren, at least she's happy." My aunt had added a laughing emoji. I read it 3 times, the one we don't mention at reunions. Like I was an embarrassment, a liability, someone to hide from extended family. I forwarded the email to myself. Saved it in a folder labeled receipts. Because one day, I'd show them this, show them exactly what they'd said, and they'd have to face who they'd been. But that day wasn't today. Today, I just closed my laptop and went back to reviewing acquisition contracts, because while they were laughing at me, I was building something they couldn't comprehend. And soon, very soon they'd understand. The presentation happened on a Tuesday. Felix and I walked into the tech company's headquarters, 37th floor, glass walls, city views. We were nervous but prepared. We'd rehearsed for weeks. The director of acquisitions greeted us warmly. Then we presented, showed them our platform, our growth metrics, our vision. I handled the technical explanation, walked them through the algorithm, the user interface, the scalability. Felix covered business development and market opportunity. When we finished, the room was silent. Then the director leaned forward. "You built this?" I nodded. "From the ground up?" "The entire architecture?" "Yes." She looked at her team, then back at us. "This is remarkable. We'd like to move forward with acquisition immediately." We walked out of that building an hour later, with a verbal offer on the table. $47 million, subject to due diligence and final contracts, but essentially done. Felix hugged me in the elevator. "We did it." We did. I went home that night, sat in my tiny apartment, and let myself feel it. Not pride, not yet. Just quiet satisfaction. Because I'd been right, and they'd been so wrong. I went home that weekend like nothing had happened. Showed up for Sunday dinner, smiled, nodded, listened. They talked about stocks, about mortgage rates, about promotions at work. My sister mentioned her new job, good salary, benefits. My brother talked about renovating his apartment. My cousin discussed his investment portfolio. Impressive. All of it. Then my father turned to me. "Still working on that little project thing?" I nodded. "Still trying." "That's good. Persistence is important." My mother smiled. "Maybe it'll turn into something someday." Maybe. I helped clear the dishes, made small talk, acted like everything was normal. Because the real win wasn't telling them. The real win was letting them find out on their own. Letting them Google my name and see articles. Letting them hear from friends that I'd done something big. Letting the truth smack them in the face when they least expected it. So I smiled, and I waited. And I signed the papers that week, made the deal official, became $47 million richer, and didn't tell them a single word. Because they didn't deserve to share that moment. They'd mocked every step. They didn't get to celebrate the finish line. My sister called me 2 weeks later. "Hey Ren, quick favor?" "What's up?" "Could you watch the kids Friday night? I know you're not too busy." The dig was subtle, but there. Not too busy, because what could I possibly be doing? "Sure, I can do that. You're a lifesaver. I'll drop them off at 6. She hung up before I could respond. Friday came. She dropped off my niece and nephew, gave me a list of instructions. Bedtime at 8, no sugar after 7, call if there's an emergency. Got it. Thanks. You're really helpful. Hopeful. Not successful, not accomplished. Just helpful. She left. I fed the kids dinner, played games with them, put them to bed at 8. Then I sat at my kitchen table and reviewed a licensing contract from a European educational consortium worth $3 million for international distribution rights. I signed it at 9 p.m. While my sister thought I was just babysitting, while my family thought I had nothing better to do. I was building an empire. Quietly. Efficiently. Without their permission or awareness. And it felt perfect. My father pulled me aside at the next family dinner. His expression was serious. Ren, I want to talk to you about something. Okay. We sat in his study. He leaned back in his chair. I'm worried about you. Why? You don't seem to have ambition. Drive. I blinked. What do you mean? Your siblings are advancing, building careers, but you're still dabbling. I'm working on a hobby, I know. He pulled out a brochure. I looked into some programs, dental assistant training, medical billing, stable careers. Dad, I don't want to be a dental assistant. I know it's not glamorous, but it's realistic. Realistic. Because apparently I wasn't capable of more. Just think about it, he said. He hugged me. Actually hugged me like he was helping. Like he was being a good father by lowering my expectations. I left that study, went home, and the next morning, I signed the acquisition contract. Officially. Legally, bindingly, $47 million. While my father worried I wasn't ambitious enough, the irony was beautiful. The wire transfer hit my account on a Tuesday, 11:06 a.m. I was at a coffee shop when my phone buzzed. Bank notification. I opened it, and there it was. $47,200,000. $47,200,000. Clean, legitimate, life-altering. I stared at the screen, not with shock, with quiet satisfaction, because I'd earned this. Every late-night coding, every pitch meeting, every moment of doubt I'd pushed through. This was mine, and my family had no idea. I finished my coffee, closed my banking app, and made a decision right there. I would never explain myself to them again. Never justify my choices, never seek their approval. I had proof now. Undeniable, numerical proof that I was exactly who I knew I was. Smart, capable, successful. And they'd been wrong. Completely, utterly wrong. I left the coffee shop and started planning my next move. Because this wasn't an ending, it was a beginning of a life built entirely on my own terms, without them. I moved 2 weeks later, found a gorgeous apartment downtown, floor-to-ceiling windows, city views, modern kitchen, everything I'd ever wanted. I didn't tell my family. Just quietly packed up my old place, hired movers, settled into my new space. I decorated it with everything they'd once called wasteful, expensive art, designer furniture, a home office with the best technology. Every detail was mine, chosen by me, paid for by me. No one's approval needed, no one's opinion asked, just peace. Pure, uninterrupted peace. I stood in my living room that first night, looking out at the city, and I felt something I'd never felt in my family's presence. Pride. Real, earned, unshakable pride. I'd done this. Me. The dumb one. The persistent one. The one they didn't mention at reunions. I'd built something extraordinary, and they still had no idea. I poured a glass of wine, toasted myself, and smiled. Because this secret, this beautiful, powerful secret, was mine for just a little longer, and I was savoring every second of it. Before their world turned upside down. The message came from my sister 3 weeks later. Hey sis, can we talk? I called her back. What's up? I need a favor, kind of a big one. Okay, Ava's tuition is due, private school, and we're drowning. How much? $28,000. A year ago, that number would have terrified me. Now it was a rounding error. Can you help? She asked. I know you're not making much, but maybe you could split it with us? Like 14,000? 14,000. She thought I couldn't afford more. Thought I was still scraping by. Let me think about it, I said. Think about it. Ren, this is your niece. I said I'll think about it. Silence. Okay, thanks, I guess. She hung up, clearly annoyed. I stared at my phone. For once I wasn't scrambling, wasn't panicking about money, wasn't the one drowning. She was. And she'd come to me, the family failure, for help. The irony was delicious. I could help her. Could write that check without thinking twice. But something stopped me. The memory of her email, the one we don't mention at reunions. The years of dismissive comments, the assumption that I'd always be less than. I decided to wait, to see what happened, to let her wonder. Because for once, I held the power, and I wasn't ready to give it up. I attended my cousin's wedding a month later, brought Felix as my +1. Not as a date, just as a friend. But my family assumed otherwise. They saw his expensive suit, his confidence, his easy charm, and they drew conclusions. Ren really lucked out with this one, my aunt whispered. My mother smiled. Finally dating someone successful. Felix overheard, leaned over and whispered to me, "If only they knew it's your money funding my next venture." I almost laughed, because he was right. I'd invested $2 million in his new startup, as a silent partner. He was brilliant, trustworthy, worthy of the investment. But my family thought he was the successful one, thought I'd finally caught someone, thought my value came from who I was with, not who I was. We danced at the reception, made polite conversation, and I let them believe whatever they wanted. Because the truth was better than any reveal I could plan. The truth would hurt them more, embarrass them more, show them exactly how blind they'd been, and that truth was coming, soon. I could feel it building like a storm on the horizon, just waiting to break. The article dropped on a Tuesday morning. I was making coffee when Felix called. "Have you seen it?" "Seen what?" "The Tech Insider piece. We're the headline." I opened my laptop. There it was. Tech underdog Ren Astor sells educational platform for $47 million. The article was detailed, featured quotes from the acquiring company, mentioned my background, highlighted the platform's impact, and included my full name. My phone started buzzing immediately. Texts, calls, voicemails. My aunt, "Ren, is this real?" My father, "Need to talk ASAP." My mother, "Call me immediately." My brother, "Did the reporter get the number wrong?" My sister, "This can't be right." I didn't answer any of them, just sat there, drinking my coffee, watching my phone light up, watching them realize, watching their world shift. Because now they knew. The dumb one had done something extraordinary. The family failure had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. The one they didn't mention at reunions was now the one everyone would be talking about. And I hadn't said a word, hadn't prepared them, hadn't softened the blow. I just let them find out. Like they deserved. The first actual conversation happened at Sunday dinner. I almost didn't go, but curiosity won. I walked in. Everyone was already there. The energy was strange, awkward, tense. My father spoke first. "Ren, we need to discuss this article." "Okay. Is it true? 47 million? "Yes." Silence. My mother looked stunned. "Why didn't you tell us?" "You never asked." "But this is huge. You thought it was a hobby. Remember?" More silence. Then my brother jumped in. "We should leverage this. Get you involved in our business. You could help with marketing, scaling." "Your business?" "Yeah, the family consulting firm. You could really add value." I almost laughed. "What's my equity stake?" "Equity? Well, we'd have to discuss." "Let me save you time, no thanks." "Ren, don't be difficult." "I'm not being difficult. I'm being clear. I don't work for free." My father tried to intervene. "We're family. We help each other." "Really? Where was that energy when I was struggling? When I asked for advice and you told me to be realistic?" No answer. "Exactly." I left before dessert. Let them sit with that. Let them realize they'd burned a bridge. And I wasn't rebuilding it. My mother started telling people she'd always known I had potential. I heard about it from my aunt, who thought I'd be happy to know. "Your mom's so proud, she's telling everyone how she encouraged you from the start." I smiled politely. "That's nice." But inside, I was seething. Encouraged me? She'd told her sister I wasn't built for greatness, had suggested administrative courses, had treated my dreams like childish fantasies. Now she was rewriting history, taking credit, playing the supportive mother role, for people who didn't know better. I didn't call her out, didn't make a scene. Just let her lie. Because the people who mattered? The people who'd actually been there? They knew the truth. Felix knew. My real friends knew, and I knew. That was enough. Let her tell her stories, let her pretend. It didn't change what had actually happened. Didn't erase her words, didn't make her suddenly supportive. It just made her a liar, and everyone who mattered could see it. That was victory enough. For now. My father came to my new apartment a month later. I hadn't invited him, but he showed up anyway. I let him in. He looked around, taking in the expensive furniture, the view, the evidence of wealth he hadn't known I had. "Nice place," he said. "Thanks." He sat down, cleared his throat. "I wanted to talk to you about an opportunity." "Okay, I'm thinking of starting something. A consultancy, retirement project. Good for you. I'd need some initial investment, about $500,000 to launch properly. I waited. I thought maybe you could help. Partner with me. Why would I do that? He looked surprised. I'm your father. And family invests in family. I leaned back. Dad, you called me a failure for 28 years, told me to lower my expectations, suggested dental assistant school. I was trying to protect you. No. You were trying to keep me small. That's not fair. You know what's not fair? Being mocked for chasing dreams, then being asked to fund yours. This is different? It's not. And the answer is no. He left angry, but I didn't care, because for once I'd said what I meant, without apology, without guilt, just truth. And it felt incredible. Thanksgiving dinner was tense. I almost skipped it, but something made me go. Maybe curiosity, maybe stubbornness. We sat down to eat, made awkward small talk. Then my cousin made a joke. Remember when Ren almost flunked out of high school? A few people laughed. Math wasn't exactly her strong suit. More laughter. I set down my fork, looked around the table. Want to know something funny? Everyone went quiet. I paid more in taxes this year than all of you combined made in income. Silence. Complete, total silence. So maybe math wasn't my problem. Maybe you just weren't paying attention. I stood up, grabbed my coat, happy Thanksgiving, and I left. Walked out of that house, got in my car, drove home, and I felt light, free, unburdened. Because I'd finally said it, finally let them know exactly how wrong they'd been, how small their world was, how big mine had become. And I didn't need their approval anymore. Didn't need their acceptance. Didn't need anything from them at all. I had everything I needed. Success. Proof. Peace. That was enough. More than enough. I stopped responding after that. Stopped answering calls. Stopped going to dinners. Stopped funding their emergencies. My sister called about tuition again. I didn't answer. My brother texted about a business opportunity. I didn't reply. My mother left voicemails about healing the family. I deleted them. I wasn't being cruel. I was being clear. They'd had 28 years to value me, to respect me, to see me. They'd chosen mockery instead. That was their choice. This was mine. Choosing distance. Choosing boundaries. Choosing myself. My therapist asked if I felt guilty. No. Not at all. They don't deserve access to what they mocked. She nodded. That's healthy. And it was. For the first time in my life, I was putting myself first. Not hoping they'd change. Not trying to prove myself. Just living. Successfully. Peacefully. Without them. It felt right. More than right. It felt like freedom. Like I'd finally escaped a cage I'd been in so long, I'd forgotten what open air felt like. Now I knew. And I was never going back. The platform expanded globally that year, 6 countries, 14 languages. Education boards across Europe picked it up. UNESCO mentioned us in a digital learning report. Forbes ran a feature. The vision, they laughed out of the room. The article detailed my journey. Mentioned my family's initial dismissal. How I'd built something world-changing while being called the dumb one. Someone tagged my father on Facebook. He deactivated his account the next day. My mother's friends started asking her questions about why she'd never mentioned her successful daughter, about whether the rumors were true, about whether she'd really discouraged me. She had no good answers. I knew because my aunt told me. Thought I'd want to know. Thought I'd feel vindicated. I did, but not the way she expected. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt sad. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that they couldn't just have been proud, couldn't just have supported me, had to be proven wrong instead. But that sadness was small, manageable. Nothing compared to the joy of finally being free, of building something that mattered, of proving to myself more than anyone that I was capable. That was worth everything. They tried to apologize, a group text on Christmas Eve. We're sorry we didn't see your potential. We're proud of you now. Can we move forward? I read it, didn't respond. Because those weren't real apologies. No acknowledgement of specific harm, no understanding of what they'd done, just vague regret, and a desire to benefit from my success. My therapist and I talked about it. What would a real apology look like? Acknowledging specific things they said, understanding the impact, changed behavior. And you're not seeing that? Not even close. So I didn't respond, didn't give them the reconciliation they wanted, didn't pretend everything was fine. Because it wasn't. And I didn't owe them comfort, didn't owe them access, didn't owe them anything. They'd made their choices. For years. Consistently. Deliberately. Now I was making mine. And my choice was to prioritize people who'd actually supported me, who'd seen me clearly, who'd believed in me. My family wasn't on that list. And that was okay. More than okay. It was exactly right. The family business collapsed the next year. Bad decisions, poor management, lack of innovation, all the things they'd accused me of. They were forced to close, lay off employees, file for bankruptcy. I heard about it through business circles. Not from them. They didn't reach out. Probably too proud or too ashamed. Either way, I didn't offer help, didn't reach out. Just let it happen. Later my mother called. We're in trouble. I heard. We need help to rebuild. Okay, would you consider investing? Ren, please. You had years to respect what I built. You didn't. Why would I invest in people who mocked me? We've changed, have you? Or do you just need something? Silence. That's what I thought. I hung up and felt nothing, no guilt, no regret, just clarity. They'd made their bed, now they got to lie in it, without my money, without my help, without me. And that was justice. Not revenge, just natural consequences. Finally catching up, I sent them one final communication, an email, formal, legal, an offer to purchase the family business, 100% ownership, cash deal, fair market value, one condition, I'd rename it. Underdog Holdings, named after everyone they'd ever underestimated, including me, especially me. They declined, too proud to accept, too stubborn to admit defeat. So I let the business die, let it fail completely. Could I have saved it? Yes. Should I have? No. Because some things deserve to fail, some legacies deserve to end, and their business, built on arrogance and dismissiveness, was one of them. I built my own legacy instead. Scholarships for underdog students, funding for women-led startups, programs for kids told they weren't smart enough. 10 companies funded, hundreds of students supported. Real change, real impact. No press releases, no big speeches, just quiet power. The kind that actually mattered. The kind that helped people like me, who'd been dismissed, underestimated, counted out. We were proving them all wrong, together. And that was the real victory. Not my success alone, but lifting others, building something bigger. Creating a world where being underestimated wasn't a life sentence, just a temporary condition that we'd overcome, together. 5 years later, I gave a keynote at a tech conference. Talked about building companies, about believing in yourself when no one else does, about turning mockery into motivation. Someone asked a question during Q&A. Your family famously didn't support you early on. Have you reconciled? I paused. Thought carefully. No. And I'm okay with that. Do you regret the estrangement? I regret that it was necessary. But I don't regret choosing myself. The audience applauded. After the talk, a young woman approached me. My family calls me the dumb one too. Then prove them wrong. What if I can't? You can. I did. But do it for you, not for them. She hugged me, and I realized something. This was why it all mattered. Not the money, not the success, but this moment helping someone else see their worth, breaking the cycle, showing that dumb one is just a label, not a destiny. I went home that night, to my beautiful apartment, my successful company, my chosen family, and I felt complete. Not because I'd proven my family wrong, but because I'd proven myself right. I was never the dumb one, just underestimated. And now I was unstoppable, building legacy, changing lives, rising so high above them, they couldn't reach to pull me down. Because legacy isn't revenge. It's becoming so undeniably successful that the lies can't survive, so brilliantly yourself that the labels fall away, so powerful that the only thing anyone can call you is what you've always been. Smart, capable, extraordinary. And every time someone calls me a genius now, I smile, because I remember when they called me the dumb one, and I built an empire anyway. The end.